Well, police are investigating multiple crimes that they said happened at yesterday's ICE protest and vigil in downtown Hartford. That vigil was for Renee Good. She's the woman who was shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis earlier this week. Now, Hartford Mayor Arunan Arulapalam is now calling for an investigation into what happened at that Hartford protest, and police are still trying to identify who exactly was involved. Fox 61's Celine Ayer shares what we know at this point.
Right now, police are looking into 3 people's actions from that protest. One who Hartford's mayor says used pepper spray on the crowd, one he says who hit a protester with their vehicle, and someone else the mayor says damaged that same vehicle by shattering a window. The mayor says he believes the person using pepper spray was, quote, in some way affiliated with the federal government.
The city and the Hartford Police Department were, after the protest, made aware of allegations of pepper spray being used, being deployed. The Hartford Police Department didn't themselves deploy pepper spray and weren't aware of the incident as it occurred.
Len Virula was one of the speakers at the protest, and she says she was one of the people who got sprayed.
As I'm walking towards the crowd, I'm sprayed. And now there's people pouring gallons of water in my eyes. All my clothes are soaked. Someone gave me this blanket. The firefighters gave me this blanket.
Hartford police say there were about 10 to 12 uniformed officers working the protest, and they were also working a command center to keep an eye on the crowd. The mayor says about 200 people came to the protest, and it was mostly peaceful except for a small group. They don't believe anybody went to the hospital that night, including the person hit by the vehicle.
At one point, a group of attendees observed some federal employees exiting the rear of the building on the Sheldon Street side and attempted to obstruct their exit. One of those vehicles that we believe was driven by a federal employee made contact with a protester, knocking them to the ground.
The mayor says they're looking into these claims just like they would any other hit and run, assault case, and property destruction case. Adam Antar is with the Muslim Justice Center, one of the groups that supported the protest. He says the community needs to take something away from what happened here in Hartford.
I think that this poses an opportunity for us to look critically at what we as community members need to do in order to make sure that we are keeping ourselves safe.
The mayor shared the Department of Homeland Security is working on their own investigation into what happened at the protest, but says they won't share any information with the city until the investigation wraps up. In Hartford, Celine Ayer, Fox 61.
Now, regarding that protester who police say tried to block the vehicle that might have been a federal agent's vehicle, they haven't said whether that person could face charges and what, if any, role they played in how this escalated. Investigators said they're still trying to sort out exactly who did what and in what order. And today, U.S. Senator Richard Blumenthal and Governor Ned Lamont held a press conference to speak about the protests in the state. Blumenthal said he believes the protests have been mostly peaceful, with the exception of the violence that took place last night.
You have a First Amendment right to protest, demonstrate, express your views peacefully without interfering with others. And that is by and large what we have seen throughout Connecticut. When people use violence, they undermine their cause. They play into the hands of authoritarian dictators.
Senator Blumenthal emphasized the importance of peaceful protests. He said it's not only has a role, peaceful protests do, to stay peaceful is an obligation, he said.